Why is it that at the end of that thought that comes to your mind, you're just left with negativity? Why? Why in 10 people, the same kind of thoughts are coming to 8 people? There's nothing wrong with you. The situation is, the fact is that your brain has been made to function like that. So I'll give you a small introduction of how your brain functions. Your brain can be divided into 3 parts. First part, second part, and third part. The first part is called the old brain, the oldest brain, the most primitive brain. The second is the middle brain. And third is the new brain. Now, let me give you a situation. I want everybody to be a part of this situation. You're walking in a dark street. And on that dark street, you're absolutely alone. And पीछे से कोई आपको आवाज देता है. Somebody calls you out from the back. Hey, doesn't take your name. And is quite aggressive also. Hey, what is the first thing that you would do? If research is to be considered, the first thing that you would do is you would freeze. You would not run away, Deepak ji. The first thing is that you would freeze. And you would freeze because the old part of your brain, that is called as the lizard brain, has got just one major function. And that one major function is to just think about survival. It just has to think about survival. The old brain, if it is not able to process something, it passes on to the middle brain. If the middle brain is not able to process something, it passes on to the new brain. But if you give all the power to the old brain to process, the old brain would say, bhai, the survival is under threat, run. But before run, it would freeze. And then it would think, is the situation really bad? And if it is not able to process it, it would forward that situation to the middle brain. Now somebody called your name from the back, hey, and you just froze. Option number 1 could have been you could have ran away. Option number 2 is your old brain passes it on to the middle brain. Now the middle brain says, turn back. Dekh to hai kya? And when you turn back, you see somebody hysterically waving his hands at you. Now, hysterically waving hands at you can be with anger also, and can be to attract your attention also. The middle brain, when is not able to understand the reason, then passes it on to the new brain. And the new brain is the most evolved part of your brain. The new brain then goes and starts to think and starts to process. It is the i7 processor, it is the i10 processor, the i50 processor, the processors that have not even come by. And it starts to process what has gone, what has gone, what has happened, what has happened, what has happened. And then you recollect, I went to that shop to buy something. And this is the same guy who was there in that shop. Oh, my credit card. Where is my credit card? Oh, I cannot see my credit card. And then you look into the hands of that guy. You see a small rectangular piece of plastic in his hand. And you find that it is that credit card that you had left, your credit card that you had left at that particular place. But the first instance, your brain said, run. Why? Because it thought that your survival is under a question. No matter how much we evolve, our brain would actually get into such situations. And such situations are known as the snowball situations. Snowball is when one negative situation comes into your mind, when one negative thought comes into your mind, and then it becomes a very big situation, such a big situation that you're not able to tackle. The business has been shut for 2 months. Service industry has been shut for 2 months. And you say everything will be over. No, your life is not limited to 2 months. Your life is not limited to 2 months. There would be impact, undoubtedly, there would be an impact. But you would not be uprooted. You have worked for 20 years, and if case you're a young lad, if you're a young lady, then you are to work for more 20, 30 years. The snowball is once you get a negative thought, it becomes so huge, it becomes so intimidating that you cannot just control it. Now, when I compare a snowball with a thought, snowball scores 1 point more than your thoughts. At least you can see the snowball happening. In the real life scenario, if you actually see a snowball approaching you, you can actually get away from it. It is tangible, you can see it. Unfortunately, thoughts cannot be seen. Thoughts have to be felt. And what if you don't want to feel it? And what if you've started to enjoy the snowball? That is when you start to deplete your mental level. I've written the word Swedish snowball out here. I'll quote one incident. 1975, there was this guy who was working in a Swedish hospital. Swedish guy working in a Swedish hospital. 1975. And he just gets a phone call over the landline. There were no mobile phones then there, not even here. He gets a phone on the landline which says, we have an emergency situation. A plane has crashed, a fighter jet has crashed, and we are bringing in the pilot, and he needs your attention. Now, this guy who took the call, 1975, the doctor, was not actually a doctor, was a doctor in the making. He was a trainee, article assistant, sort of. He was a trainee. And then the fighter pilot is brought in. This guy sees him and he's perturbed. His brain starts to function. The old brain with the doctor starts to function. He goes out to that fighter pilot and starts to communicate. But the pilot, when responds back, the doctor is not able to understand. The Swedish doctor is not able to understand. Now, the Swedish doctor's brain starts to play a game with him. Survival. The brain says, you're not able to understand his language. For sure, he's not from Sweden. So where is he from? Again speaks. The pilot again responds. The Swedish doctor then checks his database. Oh, what language is this? What language is this? What language is this? Ah, Russian. Looks like Russian. The Swedish doctor then talks back to this pilot, fighter pilot, in the Russian language. And the pilot gets agitated, gets irritated, and starts to curse back. The doctor thinks, oh, what a smart fellow I am. I could guess that this man is a Russian. And because I've guessed that he's a Russian, he has started to swear me back. He started to abuse me back. For sure, the Russians have attacked Sweden. This is the start of the World War III. This is what he thought. And right there from behind came the head nurse, and she said, get aside, get aside. And this man says, oh, this guy is a Russian. This guy is a fighter pilot of a Russian jet. I just got to know that. You see what he's speaking. And the head nurse says, just shh, keep quiet, keep quiet. He's not speaking in any Russian. He's speaking in the Swedish language. He says, but why can't I understand what he's speaking? I'm a Swedish guy. He's a Swedish guy. Why can't I understand? She said, this guy's jet crashed in ice cold water. He was there in that ice cold water for 30 minutes. And while he's speaking to you in Swedish, he's also shivering. And that is why you're not able to make out what language is he speaking. Now, picho, get back. Could you get what the doctor's mind was doing? The doctor's mind just connected that incident, the fighter jet pilot crashing, with his survival. The World War III has started. So at times the problem would not be that big, as big as you would make it in your mind. See, the problem with the evolved people are, the problem with the educated, the problem with the highly intelligent people are that they can think a lot. And we need to learn one thing, that you need to have measured reactions. Vietnam is one country. I think everybody should read a lot of world history. Vietnam is one country, the history of which must be read by people. So I'm taking this incident from a book that Bill Gates had come up, had asked people to read it. It was his recommendation. And what a wonderful anecdote this is. Vietnam had a major war outbreak with the Americans. And, and that war outbreak was pathetic, pathetic. It claimed millions of lives, millions of lives on the Vietnamese part, and also many lives on the American part also. So the guy who wrote this book, Hans, he went to Vietnam and he wanted to see what the Vietnamese had done for the respect of the people who had laid down their lives in the American War of Liberation. He got a local guide and he asked him, why don't you take me to this place that you people might have erected for the commemoration of your people, for your veterans? And he took him there. And there he saw a structure which was erected by the Vietnamese for the commemoration of the people who had fallen in the American Liberation War. And this guy was aghast. When he saw that structure, he was aghast by the size of it. Could you guess what was the size of the structure? Just to put it in your perspective, the Indian Gate, the India Gate, is a 42-meter structure, 130 feet structure. Vietnam had lost millions of lives, and they had erected a structure for the commemoration of the people. And the size of that structure, the height of that structure was, Deepak is saying, Sardar Patel statue type, and it was just 3 feet. Just 3 feet. He was aghast. How could it be just 3 feet? And this man said, okay, don't worry. Let me take you to some other place. The Vietnamese had not just fought one war. The Vietnamese had fought one more war. And that war was with the French. He took him to that place. He showed that we have made one more structure for the commemoration of our people. I want you to show that also. The French structure. The size of that front structure was 12 feet. Just 12 feet. Now this guy thought, is it that the Vietnamese people do not respect their veterans? He had all these thoughts. And then the guide said, there's one more structure that I would want you to see. And that is a structure that we have built for the men who lost their lives while fighting the war of liberation against the Chinese. And you went there. That structure was 300 feet. 300 feet. And that was not only a structure, it was more like a mandir where people used to go pray. It was a pagoda, the ceiling of which was covered with gold. Hans could not resist and he asked, why is it that you just made a 3 feet structure for the American war, a 12 feet structure for the French war, and a 300 feet structure for the Chinese war? To which he got a wonderful answer. The guide said, we respect the people who laid down their lives in the American war. But the American war was fought for 20 years. 20 years. That is why it is just 3 feet. The Chinese war was fought for 2000 years. And that is why we have something that is as grand as the pagoda to commemorate the people who laid down their lives. Why are we talking on this? We're talking on this because these are measured reactions. You must know किस चीज को कितनी importance देनी है. What thing is to be given what amount, what quantum of importance. Because it is your importance that you give to the others or give to situations that makes them even more empowering. What is happening outside, if it gets all your attention, garners all your attention, then you have empowered that situation beyond control. So Pratik, what do you say? Should we be ignorant? No, you should not be ignorant. You must know. Realization. You must know किस चीज को कितनी importance देनी. This thing has to be given this much of importance. News. How much news do you watch? How much of negativity do you let inside this place? Is all up to you. But you should not be ignorant. On the lighter note, ignorance never helps. Just it helped one lady of what I know. So this lady was in Spain, and this lady won the lotto, the lottery, and the amount of that lottery was 100 million euros. And the whole country, the whole of the Spain went crazy, and they wanted to know, how did this lady win this lottery? How could she be so lucky? And this lady was basking all in the glory of 100 million euros. And then she was called on a TV show. I will call that lady mighty ignorant. Ignorance never helps, just for this case, just on the lighter note. And this lady was asked, how did you actually get this lottery? How did you win this lottery? How did you choose the number? How did you choose your lucky number? She said it was very easy. It was very easy. I was born on the 7th of July. This is what this lady said. I was born on the 7th of July. And I just had to look out for a lottery, the last two digits, the last two numbers of which were equal to the product of my birthday and birth month. So I had just had to look out for a lottery, the last two digits of which was 7 times 7. And that is what I did. I got the lottery, the last two digits of which were 48. This lady thought that 7 times 7 is 48 and not 49. And that is how she won her lottery. That is how ignorance at times helps you. But this is not the situation where the ignorance would help you. There is a spectrum. The first end of the spectrum is absolute ignorance. And the last end is that you empower that situation beyond control. This is where the snowball starts. And this is where the snowball gets out of your control. You must know when to cut the thought. When to cut the thought. You must know what should the structure look like. 3 feet, 12 feet, 300 feet. How much importance do I give it? That is the first part. And that is the first part of realization. After you've realized what you're going through, after you've realized how much importance do you have to give, you have to get into the mode of relishing. What is relish? Relish is enjoyment. Absolute enjoyment. I would want to ask you all, don't give me an answer. Very personal to you. How much do you earn in an hour? Exactly. Realize where to cut and where to give weightage. Not everything in the world deserves the same level of importance. You must know where to stop. That is what makes you a human being. How much do you earn in an hour? What kind of a question is this? Is this absurd? Might sound absurd to you. But this was one question which a child asked, the son asked to his mother. He went up to his mother and said, how much does dad earn in an hour? And she was like, why do you ask this? He said, no, I just wanted to know how much does dad earn in an hour? And she might have given an answer. She might have done some calculations and she might have reached a figure and she might have told her son, your dad earns this much amount in an hour. After a couple of days, the son goes back, this time not to his mother, and this time with the father. And says, I want to give you this much of money. Mom told me that you earn $40 an hour, $50 an hour, whatsoever that amount would be. This is the amount in the envelope, and I want you to spend time with me. This is a widely circulated story, but then also I shared it with you because let that situation not come to you. Where the people around you who love you have to go down, stoop down to that level. The father asked, why did you come to me with money? You could have just come down to me and you could have just said that you want to spend time with me. He said, I told that. I told that a number of times, but you did not understand. And with the conversations which you have with mom, I've heard, I got to know that money is really important. It's really important for you. With the conversation that you have with mom, I got to know that all the efforts that you're putting in, all the time that you're not spending with me is because that you want to earn. Let's forgive that child. The father might be earning for the family itself. But till what extent? Till what extent? Would you want to give up on this? Would you want to give up on this? Would you want to give up on this? The beautiful moments? We stayed at so many places, my family. We have a strong bond. We stayed at so many places. One of the incidences that I recollect from my life is when we were there in Patna, Bihar. And a family had got me a small video game, the Little Master. I don't know if you remember this or not. And we used to put a cartridge into it and we used to play with the remote. And I used to play one game. It was called the Antarctica. The Antarctica game was, the gameplay was that you play a penguin. You have a remote in your hand. When you press the yellow button, the penguin jumps. You go left, you go right, you dodge all the obstacles, and you have to reach the destination. I think I was a 6-year-old boy, and I used to enjoy playing that game. While I used to play that game, there used to be 3 different outcomes. The first outcome was, I used to play it in the evening hours. The first outcome was, after the game was over, I used to wrap up everything, pack, go and have my dinner. I used to have 1 chapati, 1 roti. I used to do 1 chapati, and that was it. The second situation was when that penguin could reach the destination. So that destination used to look like a hut. And my imagination used to say, ki, oh, this baby penguin has gone to the hut. Now the baby penguin's mama would meet and she would cook food for the baby penguin and they're going to eat. And I used to think of all these things. And the fact that I was the man who was pressing, I was the kid who was pressing the button, जिसके चलते वो अपने घर पहुंच जाता. I used to think, man, I need to be rewarded. I've done a wonderful thing. I used to be so happy. I used to be so pumped up. So I used to go to my mother and say, Mama, I'm very happy today. And instead of 1 roti, give me 2 rotis. And my mother used to be, oh my God, what has happened to this guy? This guy wants to have 2 rotis. All right, good. That is what every mother wants. कि बच्चा दूध पिए, खाना खाए, बाद में अच्छा पढ़े और अच्छा काम करे. And I was going down, voluntarily saying कि मुझे 1 roti extra दे दो. क्यों? Because that penguin had reached the home. But there was one third circumstance also. And the third circumstance was when the penguin could not reach home, but the home was in vision. The first instance was when he could not reach the home and the home was not in vision. The second was when he would reach the home. And the third one was when he could not reach the home and the home was in vision. Dikh raha tha samne. And those were the days when I used to cry, howl, and say, I won't eat food. I'm not going to eat anything. Why is it that the penguin is not going home? Why don't you tell him he should go? I used to ask my mother, why don't you tell him he should go home? And my mother used to say, all right, I think you're overreacting. Leave it. 6-year-old boy, what does he know about overreaction? But one day I crossed all the limits. One day I crossed all the limits. I'm pressing the yellow button. The penguin is in the air and the game freezes. The house is in vision. The game freezes, the game stops. I'm pressing the button, nothing is happening. I'm again pressing the button, nothing is happening. I call my mother, I said, Mom, come here. See the penguin? She says, yes. I see, you see the home? She says, yes. But why is it that the penguin is not going home? The penguin's mother is waiting for him. Ask him to go to the home. And I think that was a Saturday. My father came back home early. And I asked my father also that, why don't you come down? And then you ask him. I understand everything you say. डरता भी हूं मैं. मम्मा पापा से डरते हैं बच्चे. आप बोलो ना उसको वो जाए घर. And then I got all hysterical. I started to beat the TV. Tuck, 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 tuck. Why isn't the penguin going? Why isn't the penguin going? Why isn't the penguin going? And then my mother did what she would have always intended to do, and she slapped. And she made me realize one thing. And she said, Prateek, you're not realizing. You're pressing the button will not let the penguin reach his home. I said, why? The mother is waiting there. She said, Prateek, why are you disregarding the fact what you see on the left-hand side top corner? The time is up. And after the time is up, no matter how much you press the button, it yields no result. It gives you no result. Prateek, why are you telling us this? Because you all are thinking like the way I was thinking as a 6-year-old boy. Not all of you, but some of you. You're thinking time will never go up. चलता रहेगा. नहीं. One day it will stop. And it will not tell you that it's about to stop. The moment that you, I, we all are in right now is the moment where the pause button has been pressed. This is the time where we should go out. Go out? No, not physically. But spend time with the people who mean to us. For once, not behave like the macho daddy, but for once, behave like that huggable teddy bear that your family wants you to be. And become the huggable teddy bear that your family actually wants you to be. This is also the time when you can go into introspection. You need to get the man right. When was the last time you had this much of time? You would say you have a lot of pressure. I understand you have a lot of pressure. But you don't have to commute. You don't have to travel. The travel time has been taken care of. When was the last time you had this increased that much of time that could be spent with yourself? There was a man who was doing his work, and the son used to come back again and again to the father and used to disturb the father. And the father got agitated. He said, why are you disturbing me? You go no. He said, Ari, you don't spend time with me. It's a holiday. Is it the same child? That envelope wala? Dollar wala? No. This is the other child. We've got many children from whom we can take the examples. The son came and said, you don't spend time with me. Daddy said, oh, I'll spend time with you. Come here. And the father took out a page from the magazine which had a world map on it and tore it and gave it to the son and said, you bloody put this world map all back together and then you come to me and then we'll spend time. Father thought, oh, good riddance. I've got at least 2 hours of time now with me. And the son comes back in 10 minutes. And he said, Dad, done. Dad was like, oh my God, are you my son? Such a brilliant guy you are, boss. How did you do it? He said, nothing. I just looked at the flip side of the world map. On the flip side of the world map, I saw a man's image. I got the man's image correct. Automatically, the world's image also got itself correct. When you get the man right, you get the world right. This is the moment where you have a chance to get the man right. One very important man. Family, correct, but yourself also. Getting to know yourself. I get messages, I get calls. They say, Pratik, we're not able to spend time. No. Itna time aa gaya apne paas, kya kare? Arey, just travel back 10 years. Think of the things that you wanted to do. You wanted to read some novels. You wanted to read literature. You wanted to read poems. You wanted to write. You wanted to learn cooking. But Pratik, there's a lot of pressure. Arey, what will your pressure do? You're taking pressure would give you a solution. No. You have to calm this thing first. And that is, Pratik, is it that you're sounding utopian? No, I'm not sounding utopian. The people who have changed the world first have got this place, their brains, in control first. What do you think? Yelling at someone in the family, getting agitated, getting irritated will solve problems. What do you think? You and I yelling 10 times in a day on a phone call would push the pharma companies, and they would come out with a vaccine. And Pratik is in a lot of tension. Let's get out a vaccine. Really, वो आज 2 बार चिल्लाया है सुबह से. No, no. One more thing. If I take the name of these animals or birds, what is the first thing that comes into your mind? The color. If I take the name of an elephant, the first thing that would come to you is gray, right? If I take the name of parrot, the first color that would come to you would be green. And if I take the name of swan, हिंदी में बगुला बोलते हैं उसको, swan, white. But do you think there are only white swans in this world? Do you think there are no black swans? Somewhere in 1700, the first black swan was discovered in Australia. Black swans exist. It is just that you do not know about its existence. Such incidences that are coming to human mankind right now have come previously also. It is just that you and I don't know about it. This is a time where you and I become to act like the phoenix, which rises. The World War, the Spanish flu, all of these things have happened earlier also. And people have risen out of this. How did people rise of this? World War II was one of the worst man-made disasters, both in terms of what it did to the humankind and what it did to the economy also. So there was this one guy, Max Keith, who was working in Germany. And in Germany, he was heading the operations for Coke. 1941, before that, 1941 se pehle, before 1941, the Americans were not a part of the World War. And because they were not a part of the World War, they were good with their supplies. They were sending their supplies to other countries where they were manufacturing. But in 1941, when the Pearl Harbor happened and America became part of the Second World War, their diplomatic ties changed with the rest of the world, and it for sure changed with Germany also. And now they were not supplying the raw materials for their most sold product, or for that times the only product that was famous, Coke. This guy, Max Keith, who was running the operations in Germany, he had two options. The first option was to surrender, to succumb to the situations to the Second World War, and to accept the fact that because the Americans are now a part of the Second World War, no raw materials would come in. It would be impossible for them to have their operations up and running. He could have succumbed. That is when the German government, under the leadership of Hitler, said we would have some of the industries operating, but these industries would be the ones who manufacture the essential goods. Essential. Does it ring a bell? Anything that is non-essential will not be produced. Everything that is essential would be produced. And Charles Keith thought, oh my God, if I have to keep my business up and running, I have to manufacture, because soda then in Germany was considered to be an essential, but I do not have my raw materials. I do not have my secret ingredients that Coke used to send me. Coke, there are 9 secret ingredients in Coke. 7 of them were known to Max Keith, but 2 of them were not known to him. And there was no way that he could make it. He could make the Coke. So he thought, I have to make something. I have to keep my operations up and running. And he came up with a new project. The project was Project Fantasize. Use your imaginations. He went up to his employees and he said, use your imaginations and think of something that has never been thought before, and let us create a product. The people came down and said, boss, we have nothing, we have no raw materials. And then Max said, let us make something that is made out of the leftovers of the leftovers. He took two major ingredients, apple cider. एप्पल को जब आप क्रश करते हो, उसमें से जूस निकालते हो, तो जो बच जाता है एप्पल साइडर लेफ्ट ओवर, जैसे शुगर केन का बच जाता है, द एप्पल साइडर लेफ्ट ओवर्स. And because Germany then was importing a lot of cheese from Italy, the second raw material that they used was whey. Just when we make curd, when curd is made, the water that is left is called whey. Similarly, when cheese is made, the water that is left is also called as whey. So he had two products. Number one, whey, and number two, the first one was whey, and the number two was apple cider leftovers. And he came up with this operation fantasize, use your fantasy, come up with something. We have to keep the business up and running, up and running, up and running, up and running. And he came up with a new product, which to the world is known as Fanta. Fanta is the short form for fantasize. This man did not succumb to the Second World War. This man came up with a new product. There were operational issues. There were logistical issues. The behavior had changed. The supply chain did not exist. He came up with what could have been come up during those difficult times. Today, Fanta does not need an introduction. But what happened to Max Keith? Max Keith survived 2 bombings and one of the attempts of putting him into the jail by the German government. But when he came out of that, the Coke Corporation, the Americans, appreciated what he did and promoted him from heading the German operations and made him the head for the European operations. And that is how Fanta was born. What you see in front of you is the bullet train. Bullet train is historical. The Hiroshima-Nagasaki bombings had left Japan into a situation where you and I cannot even imagine somebody to be. The worst of the worst situations. And the chairman of the Japan Train Corporation, JTC, approached his employees and said, there's a big issue. We have 2 major cities. One is Tokyo and the other one is Osaka. People in Tokyo are not able to find a job in Tokyo, so they have to move to Osaka at times. People in Osaka are not able to find jobs. They have to move to Tokyo at times. There is a lot of transportation that is happening between Tokyo and Osaka. But the distance between them is 500 kilometers, and our trains are covering that distance at an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour. It is taking 10 hours one way. 2-way travel is taking 20 hours. It is impossible for people to travel this way, boss. Impossible to travel this way. His company men said, oh, don't worry, boss, we'll come back with a solution. They came back with a solution. They said, sir, we have increased the speed from 30 miles to 50 miles. 30 miles is 50 kilometers an hour. 50 miles is 80 kilometers an hour. The chairman said, no, this is not good for me. No good for me. I want the time to be reduced even further, even further, even further. The next meeting, the employee said, boss, see, 80 kilometers per hour. So we have increased it to 70 miles per hour. 70 miles around 100 kilometers, 110 kilometers per hour. But we cannot go beyond that. We cannot go beyond that because if you look at the topography of Japan, it has got a lot of mountains. And if the train was to take a turn around those mountains at a very high speed, there was a chance that the train would topple over. Train gir jayega. So what do we do, boss? There are 2 options. The first option is we go slow. And the second option was either we cut holes into the mountains, we make tunnels, and we go through those tunnels. The boss said yes. The second option is even better. You go for that. They cut holes into those tunnels, and as a result, they came up with the first high-speed train which could travel at a speed of around 200 kilometers an hour. But that is not the end of it. You would say in disparity, what the times we are going through, should we create products? Create products. See how the customer mindset is changing. See how people are thinking in a different manner. When was it earlier that webinar was such a common thing to happen? Things are changing. After the bullet train was made, years later, Jack Welch, the iconic management guru who used to head the company called GE, General Electrics, went to Japan and tried to understand what Japan was doing and saw how they started from 50 kilometers per hour and to the point where they have the one of the best among the top 3 rail system networks in the world, highly efficient, really fast, do not miss on the time deadlines. Jack Welch wanted to study that. After Jack Welch studied that, he came back home, Alaska, US, and he called his employees and he said, we need to think over. The Japanese have done a tremendous business. In those tumultuous times, they could come up with something that has become iconic, which has shown other countries the way to do their things better. I am deeply inspired. We have to do something at GE. We need to take the next big leap. And the guys asked, what do you want to do? And Jack Welch said, today, there are 2 companies in the world which manufacture jet engines. One is Rolls-Royce, and the second one is Pratt & Whitney. I want GE to be the 3rd company. General Electric became the 3rd company, renowned company, to come up with the jet engines. And somebody asked Jack Welch, what inspired you? He said, the Japanese. The way the Japanese operated in those difficult times, the kind of product they built in those difficult times, the way they recovered, the way they rose has inspired me and has inspired me beyond imagination. And that is how GE foraged into the business of making jet engines. The Japanese and the Russians have this doll system. I don't know if you have ever seen this doll. I'm going towards the end of my presentation. This doll is called as the Okiagari. Okiagari is the priest who gets back up. Within you and I, we all have the Okiagari. We all have that character which never goes down. You might think that you have gone down. You would be defeated the moment when you accept defeat. But if within you, you can say, no, I have a fighting chance. I have a fighting chance. I'll still fight. You would get up. You would get up. You would get up, boss, because see, there are 2 ways to play a game. One is when the opponent boxes you in that game of boxing and you go down and the referee comes down and starts to count 1, 2, 3, 4, counts till 10. When you hear the number 9 and you say, no, I cannot get up, and you accept defeat. And he says 10 and you're knocked down, is one way of fighting that game. There's the other way of fighting it. The other way of fighting is when you're knocked down and the referee comes down and starts to count 1, 2, 3, and before he reaches 10, you get up. You're again knocked down. Again, the referee comes. Again starts to count 1, 2, and you say to yourself, the game is not over until I win it, and you get up. That does 2 things. That puts your opponent on the back foot and puts you in the front foot. तासीर उर्दू का शब्द है ये. तासीर का मतलब होता है नेचर क्या है आपका. हार मानने वाला नेचर है, लड़ने वाला नेचर है, डट के रहने वाला नेचर क्या है, नेचर क्या है आपका. सिचुएशन सबके लिए सेम है. The situation is same for everybody. How you tackle the situation depends upon your nature. पानी की बूंद जब गरम तवे पर on a hot pan you drop a droplet of water, that droplet of water becomes steam. तासीर, पानी वही, but situation जिसने उसको परसीव किया, जिसने उसको एक्सेप्ट किया, जिस पे पानी गिरा वही गर्म था, तो बन गया ना धुआं. और वही, and if that water droplet falls on a leaf, falls on a flower, it becomes a dewdrop. ओस की बूंद बन जाती है. Depends नेचर क्या है. The game is not over until I win it. You all, even I, we have an okyagari within us. The priest who gets back up. You punch me, I bloody get back up. कब तक? इसका सेंटर ऑफ ग्रेविटी जीरो है बॉस. ये जीवन भर खड़ा होता रहेगा. कब हारे आप? आप तब हारे जब आपने हार मानी. The okyagari. And the last thing, I would want you all to read this. This is a wonderful poem, If, by Rudyard Kipling. I would read it for you. It gives me goosebumps. If you can keep your head high when all about are losing theirs, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat both the impostors just the same. What a beautiful line. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat both the impostors just the same, yours is the earth and everything in it. Yours is the earth and everything in it. Thank you so much. I hope that you all would realize what you're going through. You all would realize. You all would rise and you all would relish. May God bless you. Thank you so much. Take care and Jai Hind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratik bhai.
Sir.
I don't know, एक घंटा कहाँ चले गया. I think you just started it. Okay.
Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Really one of the excellent talk, I can say. And I think all of us who have seen it are now geared to see life in a different way. And definitely we will look back the situation, and I'm sure each one of us would be marching ahead. And thank you. It is wonderful. Uh, Wonderful. I don't have words to describe it, Pratik bhai.
Sir, thank you so much.
It was excellent. So what we'll do is, I think couple of questions. I think if anyone wants to have questions and all, and because see, this is a different type of atmosphere. Just raise the hands. I will bring you on audio, and you can ask also. I think that would make it a more better way than just simply asking you to type and me reading the questions. Okay, if anyone would like to ask any questions, just put it in chat. I can just unmute you. Uh, Also, Deepak Bindal has written, also if you can just say something on how to bring commitment. You know, so many things to do in free time, but gets confused and notable to focus.
Right, Deepak, wonderful question. So I think commitment comes later. What comes before it is where do you actually want to reach. If knowledge, if achieving knowledge is what your main focus is, then you would read. And if it is actually your focus, then you would find time for it. I think there's something about power, and there is something about these difficult times that is in common. What is in common is that it shows you your true self, what you actually are. If all these while you have been saying that I wanted to read a lot of books, and in this lockdown you never got a chance to read a book, then I think it was all words and no action. So commitment would come after you have set your focus on what you actually want. And discipline, undoubtedly your discipline is going to get you a lot of commitment. Forget the fact that you're in home. And what my father says, and he's listening, and he says that everyone is on a mission, and you need to know that you're on a mission, and the fact that there is a lockdown does not take away the fact that you are still on a mission. So anybody who's on a mission should not worry about the commitment, because if there is a mission, the commitment will come. The first thing is mission.
Yeah, thank you. I think Mr. Sunil Arora ji had raised the hands. I have unmuted him. Sunil, bhai, if you can unmute yourself and you can just talk.
Yeah, my question is how to keep ourselves motivated during this lockdown period.
Right, sir. Arora sir, thank you so much. Um, I think in response to what you have said, sir, there goes a saying about motivation, that there is something common in between motivation and taking a bath. You have to do it on a regular basis. You can't just take a bath once in a week and say I'm done for the week, or once in a month. So it has to come back to you again and again. You have to have a lot of good content that goes into your mind, and if possible, get into some kind of self time spending. If you have read about the Fortune 500 magazines, the people who are there on the top, there was an interview that was done. They said that one thing that we do not miss upon each day is we spend time with ourselves. So you spend some time with yourself. I'm sure that you have a family. I could hear something in the background, but 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of your self time, along with some good content going in through your mind, some good books, some good videos, would keep you motivated. And to remember, again, what I would say, what I said to Deepak Bindalji, is to have your mission in vision. If you know what your mission is, then the commitment and the motivation would keep on coming back to you.
Thank you. I think
Sir.
Aditya Gohar, you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Pratik.
Hi, Aditya.
Yeah. So basically, one question is that what do you do when you think about something which is really bothering you, but it is beyond your control to repair? It's like you can't do anything about it, but still it has an effect on you. So how do you deal with that situation? Thank you so much.
Right, Aditya, thank you so much. There are two things. There might be some people who in the audience would be atheists. So for the atheists, it is like you write down things on a piece of paper, and when you let things come out of your brain, and when you put it into action, in the sense that when you write it, you know you have addressed it. The brain comes back to a situation when it thinks that it has not been addressed. So the first thing is your brain should know that you've addressed it. You write down things. पुराने समय में लोग डायरी लिखा करते थे. That tradition has been long lost. If you can write things the other way, some people might think that I'm acting like an escapist out here, but I'm not. I have a lot of faith in God. I'm a very spiritual person. Every time we go to the Gurudwara, which what we are not able to do for now, but when we bow down, one of the Gyanijis in the Gurudwara said, when you come to the Gurudwara, you put your problems in the top pocket, and when you bow down, all the problems that are there in the top pocket gets fallen down in front of God. So you have to surrender. And once you surrender and you accept that there is a supreme power who's taking care of things, not being an escapist, I would not want that you stop taking actions towards it. You take your actions, but you know that there is a supreme power who's having things in view, who has things in purview, and he would be taking things he would be taking care of it.
Yeah, I think Subramaniam sir, if you have
No, I just want to validate my comment. I request you to validate this comment.
Yeah, in fact, I saw that comment. I think it was somewhere I was.
I
Yes,
found it, sir. The bigger the problem is, less attention you may have
Yeah,
to
exactly.
give it, and more attention to the small insignificant solution, which is the
Pratik
No,
bhai,
what I meant is
Pratik bhai, just
more.
read it for others. I think Subramaniam said this is the one you want, no? The bigger the problem, the less attention you may have to give it. And
Yes,
the more attention to that small, insignificant solution, which is the direction towards solving the bigger problem.
yes.
Request you to validate the above comment.
Subramaniam sir, I would want to get into a conversation with you if it's possible, sir.
Yeah, please. Okay. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Subramaniam sir, you can talk also.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so much for your wonderful input. If you could just let us know, so what do you actually mean by it? Because I'm not able to get the thing in entirety?
No, when you want to solve a big problem in front of you,
Sir,
for example, take you are going to climb a big mountain.
sir,
Okay, if you see the entire mountain,
sir,
you are you probably you may feel that there is a lot to do. Whether I can, a lot of questions will arise in your mind. Whether how to do, what we can do. Instead of concentrating the entire mountain, if you
sir.
take baby steps,
Right, right.
you'll find yourself reaching to the peak with
Absolutely correct, sir.
a lot of, and this happens in life also. In life, you will say tomorrow I am not there. But if you don't look at that problem and say what I need to do, put your head down and what you need to do, you do,
Sir,
and continuously keep on doing,
sir,
and
sir.
that tomorrow becomes a very good day, one day.
Absolutely,
I
sir.
don't
So,
know how long it takes.
absolutely correct, sir.
That's the statement on that's the basis of statement on which I made the
Absolutely
comment.
correct, sir. Slice and address. Slice and address is what I say. You slice the bigger problem into the smaller one and you address it one at a time. Absolutely rightly put, sir. Thank you so much for your input, sir.
And
Cannot
I'll
agree more
just
to it.
take it from Hemant Mundraji.
Yeah, thank you, Pratik ji, for this nice,
Thank you, sir.
lively and entertaining and educating one.
Sir,
The structure which I have been brought up has given me discipline, like office timing,
sir,
prayer timing, and
sir,
family time automatically.
sir,
With this lockdown,
sir,
all have become intermingled, and the discipline is not there. And then when you say that, read your books, read your poem, make your
sir,
habit enjoyable, but
sir,
then either I do one thing on a day, and the other day I do the work. How to balance it out in lockdown period?
sir. Wonderful question, sir. I would rather suggest that you should make airtight containers out of your time. Airtight containers would be like 10 to 2. I don't know in what kind of setup are you working in. In case you're a practicing chartered accountant, then you might be having a lot many things that would be coming to you. There might be some people who have fixed work hours. For the people who have got fixed work hours, making airtight compartments of working hours is best advised. For the others, you can have a moment, a period of time that is just for you. I'm really happy of the fact that this company, the OnePlus company that makes the mobile phones, has come up with a feature that is called as the Zen mode. In the Zen mode, there comes no notification, there's no phone ringing, the phone will not notify you of anything, except for if it's an emergency, if somebody calls you twice or thrice. I want that we should inculcate that Zen mode within us also. We should have an hour, 30 minutes, even if it's 30 minutes. No reading is not a good thing to happen. 5 minutes of reading is a wonderful thing to happen. There is something that is called as the Kaizen technique. The Kaizen technique is you take small steps every day. So you can just read 2 pages a book today. If you enjoy it, you can do 2 more pages. And what I've known of the human nature is what we enjoy the most, we find out time for it. So once you would start to enjoy it, you would really start to find time for it. And I'm really happy. I really appreciate the fact you said that you have a lot of discipline, because at this particular point of time, what people are lacking most is discipline. They have forgotten the fact that it is just that they have been put in the home, and the economy has to go, the work has to go. You just cannot pass on the buck. So wonderful thing to learn from Hemanji. And my suggestion to you is, sir, we can make airtight containers, and in some airtight containers we work, and in some of the airtight containers we spend time with ourselves. Just adding to it, 3 days back my wife suggested that we should do a doodle art. Doodle art is like you go onto paper and you start to paint things just to declutter your mind. So I've started to go into doodling, because a lot of new things have come up what we are not actually used to. So I'm doodling 10-15 minutes, and that really declutters me. So bringing in new things into your schedule would actually help. Thank you so much, Hemanji.
Yeah. Thank you. Generally, we have been encouraging people to put questions and question answers. But before I go that, I have one question from Ramna Kumar. I think if Ramna Kumar is there, he can speak.
Yeah, hi Pratil. One small question.
Sir.
You are again an illustration of a child coming to the father and offering hourly basis dollars.
Sir.
And your session has all the fathers are listening. Now, how to face the children and make them come and ask that 1 hour?
Is that the fact that the children are not coming down for an hour?
Yeah, because they are busy with the PUBGs and tech and other, and now the fathers are waiting for the children. How to face the situation?
That is very
Ramna, what happened when the lockdown was not there? Were children had to wait for you at that point of time? Can we start from that point?
I think so.
Yeah, sorry,
but
Pratik.
Ramna sir, wonderful question. I think it is very counterintuitive, and it makes me it makes me think over and again. And because of the fact that I've been raised by a Fauji, and I'm sure he might be listening also. There were some set rules in our home, sir. One of the set rule was that you do not take your food in front of the television. You come on the dining table and you eat the food together. And after the food is done, we go out for a small walk. So it might be that such such programming might not be a part of a particular household, but this is the best time when such programming can be brought in, where people eat together. I don't know if you have seen the movie Godfather. The Godfather movie is all about spending family time. So coming together during the dinner time, after the dinner time, watching a serial also, watching something together. I remember we used to watch some light-hearted TV serials together, and we used to laugh, and we used to really enjoy that time, and then we used to go for a small walk. So all these things would really add to the value. And I think there would come a time where when the kids would start to think that the mobile game that has been made by Tencent and that has been given them to them as a free of cost thing, PUBG, has got something which is more interesting as an interesting alternative, and that is father and mother. So I think it is up to us that we show them that we are much more interesting, and I'm sure it would happen, sir.
Uh, Thank you, Ramna. Just last question here from Tinku Padia, and then I move on to the Q&A. Tinku Padia ji, if you are there. I think I will just go to Q&A.
Sir.
Okay, and where our Appakaila Chenchu Mohan has just have one very small question: how to focus.
How, sir, I again would come back to this. Focus is something that can be lost, and it is very easy to lose focus. So to maintain focus, you have to put yourself in small airtight containers of time, and you have to find out what is actually acting as a deterrent to your focus. Whatever acts as a deterrent, if it is your thought, then you have to put your thoughts under control. If it is your mobile phone, then you have to put your mobile phone under control. So whatever acts as a deterrent to your focus has to be removed. But again, sir, the basic remains the same. You talk to people, they're saying, I really don't know how my work would actually brace to the impact that is coming. People are thinking how much more money would we make, or how would the money making come down. So nobody is losing focus on the fact what happens to money. Money still happens to be the predominantly most important thing. So whatever happens to be most important, it never goes out of focus. So I think we need to put our importance into the right categories, and then the focus would come.
We have Anand Sharma ji, who is a very regular person attendee in our webinars. He comments it as an excellent session, but he also feels that the topic name should add one more word: retain. Realize, relish, rise, and retain. Because after rising, it's hard to retain. What do you feel? So maybe he wants you to add some more things.
I'll add something to it. So there was also one question that what book would you suggest people to read during these days? And one of the books that has been my all-time favorite is Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I would also mention the name. I'll send it to you across. So this novel is about a seagull which actually wants to fly, and seagull's business is not to actually fly like the other birds which are proficient in flying. Seagull is just to take food from their sea leftovers and then go back to their homes. But this seagull, Jonathan Livingston, wanted to prove himself that what a wonderful flyer he is. Why do I suggest this is because after Jonathan Livingston Seagull actually started to fly really well, he then started to train others on how to do it. So one of the ways of retaining is also to how do you motivate others? How do you inspire others? Your life should be an inspiration for others. What you have done during these days. Let's say if you've done a course, if you've done an online course, the people who are in a circle must also be apprised of the fact of what you have done. Because out of your learnings, a learning would come out to them. And when things are shared, the brain starts to retain it. So retention would come when you start to share and when you start to empower others also, sir. And then nevertheless, one of the questions again was, how do we get motivated again and again? You have to come back to it, sir. If somebody might ask me a question, Pratik, I really have to have 8 or 10 glasses of water in a day. Can you do something that I have just 1 glass of water in the morning and no glass of water? No, it's not possible. It is a biological requirement. And so is it for your brain also. You have to get motivated again and again.
Pratik bhai, we have Nilesh Vitlani raising the hand. He's a very senior, he's a
Sir.
very good faculty and very helpful part of ICAI. So Nilesh bhai, if
Yeah.
you can.
Thank you, Mr. Pradil, for that wonderful presentation.
Sir.
I just wanted to know the name of the book which you referred on the Vietnam War.
Sir, this book is called as Factfulness. Factfulness, and this is by Hans Rosling. Hans Rosling and his daughter Ola Rosling came together with this book, Factfulness. FACTFULLNESS. And I really like your image, sir. You look wonderfully smart in this.
Thank you. That's a DP. It's obviously just better than what I look.
No, but you're looking wonderful, sir. God bless you. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
question, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll just come to the question answers. In fact, one, Mr. Chandrasekhar Iyer has a comment: mind is logical and life is a paradox. Do you think mind can solve all issues of life?
I if mind was competent enough to solve all the issues, then there would have been no issues around and across. I think mind also is very egoistic at times, and it wants everything around it to be solved just with a flick of finger. So I think there should also be one thing that is to be added is surrender. Mind should also know when to surrender and when to not. So everything cannot be solved, sir. But what sir has asked, I really admire a lot of poets across the world. Robert Frost has been one of the most inspiring poets. And somebody asked him, how would you sum up life? To which Robert Frost said, I can sum up life just in 3 words. And it goes on. It never stops. So problems would be solved, sir, but with the due time. And it's Hyderabad, sir. Hyderabad is famous for its biryanis. Biryanis take time. Everything good takes time, sir.
Superb. We have one question from Sham Sundar Pabati.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Sir, what do you suggest for young entrepreneurs in this lockdown? What is the best way to utilize the time apart from reading?
I think apart from reading, you can get into introspection also. You can also have a lot of ideas, product-based ideas. This is a wonderful time to network also. We did a session with one of the cafe owners in our city. And this guy has come up with 75 of his cafes. And I said that I find you to be very available over LinkedIn. He said, sir, normally I'm not available on LinkedIn, but it is just that during these days I have time, I'm posting things. So, and that is how I got in touch with him. So networking is one thing that you can do, but don't put all your time into networking. You should again put it into airtight containers. So networking is one thing, introspection is one thing, building upon a new skill is one thing. There are a lot many courses that are available. Coursera is a wonderful thing. I'm sure ICAI is also doing a lot many things online. So Three Idiots movie, Three Idiots said, जहाँ से भी ज्ञान आए उसको ले लो. तो जहाँ से भी, from wheresoever you can अर्जित कर सकते हो, absorption. You should increase your absorption rate at this time.
Thank you very much. My questions keep coming. We'll see. But only thing is, one thing what I can say is that a lot of thank you messages are coming there.
Sir.
You can there, right? You can just keep doing the good work like this. And it was a Sunday really well spent. Okay. So I just one is I just want you to talk about the closing programs, what we planned for next week, and then also.
Yeah, Pratik, honestly speaking, I was on and off because I'm getting madly calls for many things. And, but the beauty is the session is recorded, and again, I'm going to go back and listen to it in peace, one after another. But I think it was a fantastic session with the kind of feedback we have got. So even if we change life of one person, you feel very happy. Absolutely, and having 100, 150 people all throughout, and they giving compliments, I think it will add to your life, and I think satisfaction to your father who's been watching this entire thing more than you or me or Aditya or Pankaj Bhai. It will be he who will be satisfied in a complete sense. So you have actually made Sunday effective day to make him feel happy and make him feel special.
Thanks
So
to
my namaskar to your father, and I thank you all the participants who have actually encouraged us to take up this kind of different session. And Pratik, going forward, we'll do something more on this side, because more than work, people require to understand the life is beyond work. Absolutely, and I am one such person who has been victimized with that particular process, which I never wanted to be. And I'm just realizing, and every time thinking that I need to change certain things. And answers are there. It's only time which is going to just take us to the next level and make us realize. And Pankaj Bhai, thank you very much. And friends, I can only tell you today in the closing remark that we are coming up with Pankaj Bhai has been a great follower with me to ensure that we come out with a second session. We are working on second session also to come with, which is basically a series of good topics which are going to be subject oriented. We have talked about future and everything in past, but that was the most important part. So we thought, why not we deviate from the regular thing and do it. And now we'll do a series of lectures for subject matters, which will be, again, we'll be inviting some of the best experts of the country to be there. So Pratik, again, thank you very much, dear.
So my pleasure, sir.
Over to you. Unmute.
Thank you very much, Pratik Bhai. Thank you to your father also, and every person who was with us throughout. Thereby, I'm going to tell you one thing. You have done an excellent job in arranging the first 10 sessions and also bringing speakers like Pratik Bhai. So please understand that I'll be chasing you every hour till you give me the schedule of next 10 sessions. Okay. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you very much.
Pankaj Bhai, one more thing. Yeah. Pankaj Bhai, one more thing which we need to take a call is basically the timing. We need to think about, during the lockdown, there might be a changeover which will come. So we'll take care of that timing also.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
It's just one thing. Anybody who would want to get in touch with me, I'm there on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. There were a couple of messages about my email ID. In the name of Pratik Uppal, and you would have an animated caricature of me, not my actual photo, because people get dar jate hain wo. I don't want people to see me in the actual sense. So it's just my caricature that you would find out there.
So
right,
thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So nice of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right, sir.
I'm doing any meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, Pankaj.